Welcome to the Promised Land. It might be your apocalypse. I'm Laz. I read comics so you don't have to. Today we're talking Immortal X-Men number 15. This is
The Newest Mutants!
Make sure to stick around after our summary discussion for takeaways, a look at some cool artwork, the cover, as well as a relevant comic from my own personal collection. But now, let's get right into Immortal X-Men number 15. Our story begins with Selene, the Black Queen. She's at an Orcus safe site along with some guards, the very same guards that retreated from the island of Krakoa in the previous issue. She wants to know what's going on and why they retreated. Instead of just asking, of course, she consumes them using her powers, which also happens to consume their memories. Former mutant Sebastian Shaw walks in and he wants to know what's going on. Selene says she sees no evidence of any psychic tampering. Shaw then correctly guesses that it was Charles Xavier's doing that chased them off the island. Shaw prepares to make landfall on Krakoa itself. He's looking to loot Krakoa and take Xavier alive. We get Selene's thoughts as they fly off, and she's like, well, maybe I should tell Charles that it wasn't an Orcus plot, that the mutants were meant to go to Mars. And of course, this refers to the 250,000 mutants missing from Earth. They were originally supposed to go to Mars. That's where they thought they were being sent anyways, but now they're here. And by here, I don't know where. We witness Exodus create water for the mutant refugees who are in this unknown place, a vast desert. Hope Summers is concerned about how often Exodus can create water in the wasteland. He says, until we reach the Promised Land, of which he may or may not have had an actual vision of. Exodus also stresses the importance of Hope Summers, as she is a messiah to many mutants. We cut to a refugee named Kafka, who has this bee aesthetic going on. He's on patrol and discovers a Wolverine clone. It's terrorizing Mother Righteous. He startles it, and then a pack of Wolverine clones emerge from the sands and began chasing off after him. He flies back to the refugees to warn them. The Wolverines do a little bit of damage before Exodus uses his own powers and throws them up in the air and pops them. That was my popping. This leads us to Mother Righteous. But very quickly, who is Mother Righteous? Well, she was one of the original clones created by Nathaniel Essex. The others were, of course, Mr. Sinister, Dr. Stasis, and Orbis Stellaris. Those three are clones of Essex himself, whereas Mother Righteous was a clone of Nathaniel's wife, Rebecca. She has a suit of hearts on her forehead and has magical abilities. So, Mother Righteous approaches Exodus. They all know who she is. She reveals something big, however, and besides being, a clone and having magical abilities, she is a mutant. Ta-da! Hope uses her powers to see what gifts Mother Righteous might have, and apparently she has a multitude of gifts and has great potential. Exodus welcomes her to the family. Mother Righteous then invites them to stay at her place. She's been very lonely with an entire city to herself. Interesting. We return to Selene and Shaw and their assault on Krakoa. We get more inner monologue from Selene. One of the gates on Krakoa was forged by Apocalypse, and it trapped members of her people, the Externals. She intends to secure this gate, untangle its magic, and release them. Meanwhile, Orcus guards with anti-psionic gear encounter Charles Xavier. A battle ensues. In the morning, the Orcus guards are shot up and dead and mutilated. Charles is alone. I can only assume Xavier was either able to get through their psionic blockers or, he has some limited telekinetic abilities, which Shaw mentioned earlier in the book, and Professor X had developed them, and maybe he just, ripped them to shreds. I don't know exactly what happened. It looked violent. Back to the mutants. Mother Righteous leads them to a patch of green in the desert, a vast oasis, a promised land, if you will. Hope recognizes it as Krakoa, but the Atlantic Krakoa, whatever that is. The mutants are joyous as they march toward the promised land. Exodus feels like they are still yet to be tested by fate. Then we cut to a mysterious person with a Logan clone on a leash talking about how they are but wild animals, the Logan clones. You turn the page and it's Apocalypse! He has a Logan clone on a leash and Phoenix version of Jean Grey in chains. He says the desert is also the home of Satan. And that's the book! And now welcome to the part of the episode where I thank you for making it this far. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to this channel. It would really mean the world to me. Now, did you expect Apocalypse? Because I didn't, though there is some link to that gate that was mentioned by Selene. But I didn't expect him. It really feels like Marvel is throwing everything at the X-Men all at once now. But where could this lead? Apocalypse has a long and complicated history with mutants, including Krakoa, but we won't get into that now. Let me know in the comments if you like Apocalypse showing up, and how do you think he'll be used? But now, back to the Newest Mutants. Before I go on any farther, it's time to give credit where credit is due. Our cover artist for this book is Mark Brooks, but I have this sweet variant cover, and it's by Phil Noto. Here's another look at it right here. Our writer for this issue is Kieron Gillen. Our artist is Paco Medina. David Curiel is our color artist. Clayton Cowles is our letterer. And as always, our editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics, it's Mr. CB Sobolski. So clearly the big takeaway is, how will Apocalypse test the mutants? Exodus believes they're still to be tested on their journey, believing the Atlantic Krakoa is just a part of that test. With the reveal of Apocalypse comparing himself to Satan in the desert, we will see. Exodus also stressed the messiahness of Hope Summers, so I'm going to assume that she will have a big part to play. At least I hope so. We also inch closer and closer to a confrontation between Selene, Shaw, and Charles Xavier. How will this go down? Shaw foolishly removed his powers to fit in better with Orchis, and is likely going to have to rely on Selene to get anything done other than just bossing people around. Charles, however, might be able to handle them, but with his mental state, is he capable? Much like the Wolverine clone, he's sort of feral at the moment. We saw how he messed up those Orchis goons. All right, let's check out my favorite panels. My third favorite panel goes to the big reveal of The Promised Land by Mother Righteous. I really like the contrast of colors here, and how the reds and yellows fade into the yellows and the greens, and the greens and the yellows fade into these deeper green colors, and eventually into these blues down in the corner. It's very Bob Ross. I like it a lot. Well, maybe it's not Bob Ross, but there are some happy little trees. My number 2 panel belongs to the remains of the Orchis soldiers that attacked Charles Xavier. He mutilated them. Let's just say what it is. He, eviscerated them. How? I don't know. I don't know how it happened. Did he make them kill each other? Did he, use telekinetic powers? I'm not sure, but look at that violence. I mean, homie's ribcage is sticking out. Ugh. Of course, I saved the best piece of art for last, and it's the final panel and the big reveal of Apocalypse. We have this Logan clone and what looks like the Phoenix in chains. This is a great full-page panel, and it is the best in the book. Enjoy. And that's the show. But before I go, we're going to show a book that holds some relevance to the issue at hand, and that would be The Uncanny X-Men number 212. Why this issue? Well, we talked about Mother Righteous and her creator, Nathaniel Essex. This issue is the first time that Nathaniel Essex's name is ever mentioned in X-Men comics, well before his first appearance as Mr. Sinister in 221? Or is it 222? It's one of those. Still, first appearance of the name of Nathaniel Essex, pretty cool. The awesome cover here was done by Barry Windsor-Smith and Danny Crespi. Next time on the New Mutants, we're picking up X-Force number 44. See you then. Excelsior.